Hey guys, Iki Games here again, and today I'm going to be talking about the Sega Dreamcast. So yeah guys, as you heard, we're going to be talking about the Dreamcast. And I never actually had a Dreamcast, so I'm not going to be talking about my personal experiences with it. Because then again, these aren't reviews, these are recaps, like the history of the console, and like basically, yeah. So the Dreamcast, a lot of people like to throw comparisons to the Dreamcast and the Wii U, which, I mean, is kind of a gross, like a big, like, what's it called, comparison. Like, it's just inaccurate, this is what I mean. But yeah, the Dreamcast, it was around for about 2 years. The first year it sold around 10 million units. And before the Dreamcast, there was the Sega Saturn. And before the Sega Saturn, there was the Sega Genesis. So the Sega Genesis was Sega's most powerful console. And they thought everyone was going to buy the Saturn just because of the Genesis. And like, that's kind of what people were like. That's kind of what Nintendo was like with the Wii U after the Wii. Like, that's why I think, I don't know, I just feel like Nintendo is it's in a lot better, Nintendo's in a lot better of a shape than Sega was at the time. Because a lot of people say, oh, Nintendo's doomed if they release a new console, the Wii U's dead, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But I'm gonna get into that. So, Sega Genesis was super popular. They thought they could win over people really easily by telling people the Saturn is coming, basically. And yeah, the Saturn, Bernie Stoller, in an interview, Sega CEO at the time, Bernie Stoller, fuck, I messed up on that, didn't I? Okay, well, whatever. Well, he said in an interview, the Saturn is not our future. That was only 2 years after that was only 2 years after the Saturn was released, which made a lot of, like, people being like, wait, why am I gonna buy a Saturn if it's dead? If it's not your future, huh? So yeah, and then all of 1998, they didn't have a console. But then in 1999, they kept on pumping up people, like, cocksucker. They kept on pumping up people for the Dreamcast. They're like, the Dreamcast is coming, the dream is coming, blah blah blah, stuff like that. And people got excited for it, and I mean, Sega was in a really bad shape because they lost a lot of money on all those add-ons that they made for the Sega Genesis. And the fact that they made a new console and then got rid of it, they wasted a lot of money on that. So yeah, they lost a lot of money, and I mean, they didn't want to move on from the Genesis. That's why they kept on making add-ons. But once they had to, they trashed it away and they had no console until the Sega Dreamcast. So yeah, once the Sega Dreamcast came out, it sold like at least 10 million units. It had internet. It had a screen on the controller before the Wii U. And it had a lot of things that we take advantage of today. And that's kind of what it was. It was overpowered for its time. It was just, I mean, if this console was like released, let's say around the 360 era, maybe it would have done better. Maybe if they had like a couple graphics, you know, if they fixed the graphics a little, they polish it up a little, you know. Maybe they changed the controller, because the controller, they should have put like another analog stick if they were gonna release it. But yeah, and so yeah, basically the Genesis, fuck shit, cocksucker. Oh my god, I'm so bad at these, dude. Dude, oh my god. Okay, but anyways, the Saturn's kind of the reason. Not fucking damn it, I said the Saturn again. No, but the Saturn is kind of the reason the Dreamcast failed, because when they said the Saturn is not our future, people like didn't trust Sega, and stores just like stopped selling them altogether because they sold the Saturn without telling stores, which just all stores dropped Sega altogether, and that was bad for Sega because that means they would sell less consoles. And EA even stopped developing for it, and a couple other third-party developers started to stop developing for Sega. So yeah, the Sega Genesis doesn't mean it was a bad console. It had pretty good games, like Crazy Taxi, I didn't even have a Sonic game. I don't remember, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's just it was a good console. It's just really underrated. And it's a pretty good console overall. It was too overpowered for its time, and it was just released at the wrong time. Maybe if maybe if Sega just stuck with the Saturn a bit longer, so people wouldn't lose faith in Sega, the Dreamcast would have done better, and they wouldn't have had to get rid of the Saturn and lose a ton of money. And maybe if they didn't, that also goes for all the add-ons that they made for the Genesis. Maybe if they didn't make the add-ons for the Genesis, and they would have been in a lot better shape by now. But yeah, I mean, that's basically the history of the Sega Dreamcast. I mean, I didn't have much to say about it because I didn't own one personally, but this time I was just telling the history of the console. So yeah, let's have a quick recap. Okay, Saturn, the Sega Saturn. Bernie Stoller said it was not their future. Okay, people lost faith in Sega. EA stopped developing for Sega. Dreamcast was released. Not that many people got it because they lost faith in Sega. Sega went out of the console market. Boom, that's basically, Sega's out of the console market. And, I mean, there's been some rumors about Sega Dreamcast 2, but I doubt that's ever gonna happen. Because, like, I'm just gonna say right now, Sega was run by idiots. And they still are. They're still technically run by idiots. And they were back then. And also, since they're joining right now, not that many, like, today's kids don't know what Sega is. Besides, like, Sonic and stuff. So, and, like, how are they gonna even advertise the console towards people that have never even heard of them? They were born when the 360 came out, around that time. So yeah, that's kind of why if they release a Sega like Dreamcast 2, then they're doomed. They're fucked. Sega's dying right now. Sega's a shell of what they used to be. Okay, they're not that console. They're not those console makers anymore. They're those guys that make iPad games. That's basically it. That's all they do. They release iPad games and iPhone games on the App Store, the Play Store. It's basically all they do now. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad what happened to it. I'm considering buying one someday. Once I get an old TV or one that has an AV output. I mean, there is some type of wires that can hook it up to an HDMI, but yeah. Anyways, guys, this was Iggy Games, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.